Hi everybody, welcome to 2023 Denvernomics. Sorry, I normally do this in April. The world has been weird. It's been hard to forecast everything and anything. So what I'm going to tell you today is literally what I believe is happening, why I think it's happening, and what I'm going to do with my money and my investments. This all started because back in January of 2007, I literally called everyone I knew and I told them we were going into a major recession. And we were actually going to lose property values. And in Denver Metro, when we hit bottom, which was November of 2010, Denver Metro went down about 25% in value. Aurora went down 60% in value. America was all over the board as far as price differences. And so I realized that I was able to forecast things that, the Wolves of Wall Street didn't figure that out until summer. And a lot of it has to do with just all the people I know, payroll companies. I love the Boulier brothers who are economists. I watch Fred Analytics. And so this is kind of a culmination of all of those things and where it comes from. So welcome to 2023 Denvernomics. We're going to focus on factors contributing to housing decisions, what causes property values to decrease, what does the Denver real estate inventory look like right now, what does the future of Denver real estate look like right now, future populations and future recessions. So we'll start with global, we'll go to United States, and then we're going to go Denver Metro. So what's happening in the world, right? Lots. It's been over a year, if you can believe it, that Russia has invaded Ukraine. Ukraine has had massive positive things happen for them with really Russia showing that they do not have the military or the capabilities that everyone thought they did. And I just lost my screen, here I am. So if you look at our economic outlook projections, this is from the IMF.org, so the International Monetary Fund. And this is only interesting because it shows you where the US is as far as growth production. So for 2022, it had 2.0. For this year, it's 1.4, and next year is 1.0. A lot of people felt like we were going to go into a recession this year. The recession has basically never materialized. The American consumer has been strong. You have to realize that 70% of our economy is literally based on us spending money. So, you going to Starbucks, you going to Home Depot, you shopping, going to restaurants. I mean, you still can't go to a restaurant that's worth a grain of salt without a reservation on a Friday night unless you booked it 2 weeks out. So last year was better, and that was simply because of interest rates. The Fed has gone a little too high in my opinion as far as what they needed to do. We're gonna definitely see some downswings from it, but when you look at these projections, really the clear winners are China and India. We're gonna see a lot come from China and India. This graph is a little bit easier for you to see. So this is the world, and look at China and India. It's almost half of it for growth. So the emerging markets are really gonna be contributing. This is world markets and advanced markets like United States. We're down here as far as growth for GDP, that's world GDP, gross domestic product. Make sure I'm hitting the right ones. A lot of talk about artificial intelligence. So the artificial intelligence is set to add up to $4.4 trillion of value to the global economy annually, according to a report from McKinsey Global Institute, and was once one of the more rosier predictions about the economic effects of the rapidly evolving technology. I have a feeling I'm going to be doing another one of these Denvernomics in November. I think we're going to start seeing major changes in artificial intelligence. and it's going to affect certain sectors. But what AI is going to do is it's going to make everybody more productive on about a 10% level for where it's at right now. And who it's really going to affect, though, are the more menial the task is, the more artificial intelligence is going to wipe it out. There's already a McDonald's that's completely robotic, no humans. I think you're going to see that more with bank tellers. Even though everybody thought when ATMs came out that bank tellers were going to go away, bank tellers actually doubled. And the reason why they doubled is they started figuring out other things to do besides dispense money. So what artificial intelligence is really going to do is it's going to make everybody a little bit better. And then if it's taking over any part of your job, you're going to get better in another area and you're going to improve more. Causes for a recession. Ukraine and Russia has been a big one. The energy war and rising interest rates. We've all felt those, whether or not you have credit card debt, whether or not you're trying to buy a house, whether or not you have lines of credit with your business, interest rates rising. You know, the whole point of the Fed doing that is they had this elusive, you know, we only want to grow by 2%. Do you know where that number came from? Completely out of thin air. It was back in the 90s, and they literally said, you know, we just want 2% inflation, which means if you buy a bottle of water today for $1, 12 months from today, that bottle of water would cost you $1.02. So it's an arbitrary number. But we've had a lot of inflation recently. Everybody's felt it. Grocery stores, you know, you name it. The airline tickets are just ridiculous. And so inflation has really taken off. And a big piece of that was, you know, everybody collecting checks, sitting at home, not working, and the government printing money. So we printed a lot of money. We have Russia invading Ukraine. That's a really big deal because of oil, gas. Ukraine's also the bread basket for Europe. Very concerned about India. India gets a lot of their food from Ukraine, and them being bombed out, not being able to have farms. We're going to see a lot of issues there, even though you're going to see a lot of growth in India. So this is current trends right now. Non-residential construction. So it goes blue, green, orange, red. And this is consistent in every single piece of, whether it's non-residential construction, consumer prices, retail, they're all on this loop, right? And so the question is there a soft landing or a hard landing? And don't get too excited about this housing being at a hard landing. It's not that prices are going down, it's that people aren't selling. We just don't have inventory. And so that's what's creating the hard landing. But right now, non-residential construction is, so basically office buildings, industrial, anything like that. That's on an upswing right now. Right now, we have consumer prices, retail, wholesale trade, medical, production, new orders, foreign affairs. Those are all in a slowing section of the economy. It doesn't mean you have to go into a recession where the red is. You can kind of loop back up and go back into growth. But financial services and housing are on the low end, and financial services are just starting to grow. You know, everybody thought everything was going to fall apart. People pulled out of the stock market. I just saw today Bitcoin reached an all-time high for the year at like almost 32,000. And so, you know, everybody's saying, why is the stock market doing so well if we're supposed to be going into a recession? And I think we're going to test new highs. If you're in the stock market right now, I would stay in the stock market. I think the S&P, the QQQ, you know, major funds right now I think are going to be a solid place to be until at least January of next year. So don't get out and don't try to time the market too much there. Long-term concerns. China is actually a major concern. China purchases a lot of our goods, and China is going through a recession right now. They're actually just did a stimulus in China, so everybody in China just got some money from the government. We do have a new axis of evil. We have Russia, China, and Iran. They're all buddies. They're not good. They're not good for America. They're not good for anyone. If they all get united and hooked up together, that could definitely be a World War III type of possibility. The mortgage finance system. So lenders have to renew their basically every January they have to renew their license. So here in Colorado, only 60% of lenders even renewed their licenses in January. You know, a lot of lenders were making money off of refinancing. Clearly nobody's going to be refinancing at 7% when they're at 2 3/4. And so, you know, the lenders that have stayed in the business and are still in the game and are helping people, you know, those are the ones that are going to be able to build up a lot more business. Deficit spending is an issue because it really weakens the US dollar, and income inequality. You know, there's still income inequality. I mean, as a woman, I make less than a man who's the same age of mine, you know, on average in America. Same with different colors and sexuality, and so, you know, the income inequality is an issue. It's also one of the reasons why I do believe in Bitcoin and really everybody having a number instead of actually seeing names and colors and thinking of races. It's all mathematics with that, and I do think that will be the future. We're not ready yet, but it's coming. Recessions are caused by monetary policy tightening, over borrowing, and heavy investments, fiscal policy shocks, and financial sector dysfunction. We're clearly not in a recession, and we haven't had one, although our yield curve has been inverted, and it's been inverted for a while, and we keep waiting for the shoe to drop, but the shoe hasn't dropped. So let's talk about United States right now. So the core U.S. economy at a glance. So this is U.S. industrial production. If, you know, looking at this, we all thought that in 2023 we were going to be in the red, and we're not. We're still on the positive. So this is just slowing growth. So blue is increased growth. The yellow is slowing growth. So U.S. industrial production, downside pressures are intensifying. Annual production is expected to peak in the near term and then decline through 2024. Non-defense capital goods, so business financials are not as strong as last year, and lending standards are tightening. So new orders will soon transition to decline. Non-farm job openings are also declining, so employment will continue to slow in growth and then will decline from mid-2024 to late 2025. Right now, unemployment's low. I mean, if you want to get a new job, I feel like it's a pretty easy time to change careers, whatnot. You're not going to want to be doing that, though, come mid next year into 2025. Credit card debt and delinquencies are rising, but it's not bad yet. We're not concerned. I think retail sales are going to peak around end of this year. So retail is definitely going to decline next year. U.S. imports from the world are declining. Wholesale trade will slow this year, end of this year, and it will contract in 2024. Everyone in the world is feeling the inflation increases. They're feeling interest rates because they're increased. There's no country that hasn't done that. And so that is going to affect everything. And then consumer demand for non-durables are starting to wane. So we're going to see a slight rise end of this year, and then we'll see a decline next year. And so next year doesn't look good. Green is a positive. We like green, so 2025 is looking good from an economic standpoint. So this is from Fred. This is detached single families. This is U.S. cities all over. Here we are, and we're continuing to go up. You know, the reality is with housing, you know, we're not gonna, this is not 2008 and 2009. We didn't have a bunch of unscrupulous lenders doing things that were going to negatively affect our lending and our housing standards. And the reality is houses are selling for for more and more every day because things cost more, and it's also harder to find people that actually know how to build and do things. And so concrete's very expensive. I mean, everything is getting more expensive, which all that's going to do is increase the cost of homes. U.S. economy outlook. This is U.S. total industrial production. Takes a little bit of a dip in 2024, and then it's going to start going back up in 2025. See this little gray? This was COVID, right? Like this was just like, we basically told everybody to stay home, so we didn't produce anything. But in general, the blue line is a 12-month rolling average of U.S. industrial production. We're going to have a small decline, and then we'll be increasing in 2025. This is the retail sales leading indicator. So why this is important is your orange is leading. So it is a 6-month leading, and then the blue is actually what's happening. This is retail sales. This is us going and getting cool glasses or new clothes or anything like that. I mean, we peaked in 2021, and then there's just been a steady decline for retail sales. And I mean, I was guilty of that, right? Like, we weren't allowed to go out, we weren't allowed to shop, we weren't allowed to really do much of anything. So as soon as we were allowed to go spend money, I mean, I remember telling my husband, I was like, we are gonna eat out every night for the next 30 days, I'm not gonna cook. I mean, it was just so much pent up demand. So this is not normal, but the leading indicator shows that we're actually gonna go a little bit below for retail sales, and that will happen in 2024. This is U.S. retail sales. The blue is the retail sales, and the orange is the net percentage monthly. That's the 8-month lead time, same graph, but just shows you earlier on. I mean, the blue is the actual, and you see it doesn't go near as bad as like what actually ends up happening as far as tightening from credit cards and things like that. Did I skip one? No. All right, so an additional pressure on retail sales. Another reason why the leading indicator is actually showing this way is if you look at the red is our savings balance. So we were at, I mean, if you look back from 2010 to 2021, that was a significant increase. I mean, we were looking at 50,000 to almost 100,000. We're about 90,000. We're getting down to about 82, but it crossed from retail sales being above where our savings is. And if you notice, it always kind of stays below with growth. So see, here was 2009 when we had our big recession. Savings started increasing, and then the retail sales started going down. Now we've got savings going down and the retail sales staying upward. We're still in a little bit of a euphoria that we're not wearing masks, and we can go everywhere, and that we can shop, and we can go see things. But as savings decline, you're going to see people retract and not spend as much money. This is the production with the leading monthly. So we're at 1.9 U.S. production. Leading is going to be negative 3.9. If you think about it, if we know people are going to start buying less, we're going to stop producing as much. So it's just, we watch the leading factors because that's what companies are going to end up doing. They're going to produce less. You don't want to have an oversupply of something because then you spent a bunch of money building something and no one was there to buy it. This is personal consumption on expenditures excluding food and gas, energy. You know, you can see here our personal consumption all the way from 1960, you know, here we are, 2023, you know, we've gone up a good 100% in personal consumption. It's one of the reasons why our economies grow. We also just have more people as far as population. This is all items in the city. So you can see here in 2009 how we had this little dip here. That felt like a lot more, but that was 2009. And then here's 2021. when they started doing the interest rate increases. So consumer price index for all consumers, considering everything, we had a little bit of dip and now again growing. And I mean, again, we all feel it. Like you go to the store and what used to, I used to be able to go to the grocery store for 30 bucks and now it's like $75. I'm like, what happened? But everybody's feeling it in every sector. Our unemployment rate in America, we go through different channels, but 2009 it was high, and then 2010 we hit a peak, and then it started going down, and then it completely shot up, right, when COVID happened. You think about how many people had to close their businesses, weren't allowed to go to work. So we had a huge unemployment, it was almost at 15%, and then it was just a steady rate just coming down. And really, our unemployment's quite low, and that's one of the reasons why the Fed is increasing how much money it costs to borrow. I'm just hoping they're not too short-sighted in the fact that unemployment is low, but we have definitely taken a big bite out of our economy. I think anyone who has any company has felt it. It has been a hard 12 months with the higher interest rates. You think about it, if you don't end up buying a new car or end up buying a new home or end up buying anything, it's a trickle effect throughout the entire economy. You think about it, you buy a house or an office building, you need blinds, right? You need flooring, you need paint, maybe new fixtures, but all of those trickle down into the economy, and that is 70% of our GDP in America. Student loans. People are really worried about student loans. Everybody thought they were going to get forgiven. Supreme Court said, nope, we're not going to forgive them. Everybody thought that's going to be terrible for the economy. It's not large enough. It's not enough people. And I mean, I have all kinds of clients with all kinds of student loan debt. It's no fun, but it's something that we're at $1.8 trillion for student loan debt. And even with all of those people having to pay that, it is not enough. There's not enough people that are having to pay their student loans back that are going to actually affect the real estate market and our economic market enough negatively where you're going to see a price decrease. So this is state by state GDP. So this is United States. We're in Colorado here. So Colorado's percentage change is 1.9% annual. So that's from last year's quarter to this year's quarter. We're still increasing. We're producing more than we were a year ago. More companies are moving here. You have certain states that are doing better than others. I I always think it's interesting. Nebraska's at 12.3%. Amazing. Kansas is 6.0. Colorado's lowly 1.9. Higher than California though at 1.2. Florida, you hear a lot of talk about Florida and Texas. Texas is at 3 and Florida's at 3.5. Contributions to percentage change in real GDP by industry. So private service-wise, number one thing that's really increasing GDP is healthcare and social assistance. We have an aging population. They need more healthcare. I think COVID as well created a lot more need for healthcare. Retail trade is 0.57. Agriculture, forestry, fishing, hunting is at 4. Real estate and rental listings at 0.31. So the real GDP increased by a total of 2.0%, and that's private goods, private services, and government. And so what really kind of came down? Finance and insurance got hit, and durable goods manufacturing went down, wholesale trade, utilities, but otherwise, mining, construction, federal government, transportation, professional services, arts, entertainment, state, local government, food services, hunting, fishing, retail trade, and healthcare are all things that are contributing to a rise in GDP and why we have not gone into a recession. So what is the true definition of a recession? A true definition of a recession is that we had 2 quarters where the GDP went down, which we had, but they're still not calling it a recession, which baffles me. It makes me want us all to shoot our televisions. So like, you know, here's our GDP, downward growth, here we are, we're just kind of trailing along. It's gonna go down a little bit in 2024 and then back up in 2025. I think what's happened is because 2008 and 2009 was such a horrific recession for so many people, everybody hears recession and they think that's what it's gonna look like, but that's not what it's gonna look like. Our consumers are resilient. Americans wanna spend money. We still wanna go out, we're still traveling. I personally own 2 Airbnbs. I will tell you that year over year, I'm actually same for income level, but I'm down 20% in bookings. So from a year ago. And so, you know, that people are starting to ratchet down. They're starting to, you know, check their savings, not spending as much as they once were. This is real GDP by industry, quarter over quarter. So this was our private goods in 2022. Since then, everything's kind of been going up and up. Fourth quarter 2022 is one of our highest, and this is our first quarter where we went down a little bit here on private goods, and that really came from the higher interest rates that we've all been struggling with. This is mortgage applications. So the blue is kind of weekly of what's happening from October to July. And then this is the 12-week rolling average, the green line. And mortgage applications are clearly down. So, you know, when you double interest rates, we had almost 320 million people, you know, basically applying for loans. Now we're down by about 100. So mortgage activity increased slightly in the latest reading with a composite index of 0.9% following a decrease of 4.4% the previous week. Looking at the details, applications for purchases drove the positive result, increasing 1.8%, while refinance applications were declining. And the increase in activity comes despite mortgage rates. I mean, last week on Friday, mortgage rates were at 7.5%. Now they're down to like 6.9%. We've had a pretty large decrease, which has been great. But I've also noticed that everybody keeps waiting for prices to drop, and if you're renting, rent's not getting cheaper in Denver, at least. So you know, people are starting to realize that they need to buy it, regardless. This is our U.S. average monthly mortgage payments as a percentage of median monthly earnings, and you know, where I get concerned really is when our mortgage payments go over 50%. You know, rule of thumb is I don't want your housing to cost you more than half your income. So, you know, if you bring $4,000 a month in, your housing should not cost you more than $2,000 a month. And so this gets a little concerning, but it's already come down in 2023. So this was second half of last year. And so it's coming down a little bit, and it will come down as interest rates do come down. U.S. mortgage payments. This is a 12-month percentage change in CPI for all urban consumers. So this is June 2022 to June 2023. So the blue line is all items, and the pink is everything less food and energy. So basically what we're seeing is we're seeing food and energy really affecting consumer price index in a positive way. It's why it's coming down. Gas a year ago was a lot more expensive. Things cost a lot more a year ago to ship. So that's really starting to decrease. And that's where you're gonna start seeing some things come down in price. I think we might see a little bit of price come down a little in food. I think we're gonna definitely see the airlines come down. You wanna travel? Travel next year. Don't do it this year. I was supposed to take my baby overseas, but the tickets were so ridiculous, we punted to next year. We're gonna wait for a recession. And what a lot of people don't realize is recessions are actually good. It's weird, but recessions actually are good for the economy. Airline tickets go down, cars go down, the cost of travel goes down. So, you know, when you hear recession, people tighten up, but I'm actually like going, where's the recession? I want my interest rates to go down. So this is the 10-year real estate interest rate. So this is from 1984. You know, we're up like 7.5%. And then here we're trailing along. We were trailing low, and then it's been increasing from 2022, and then it's taken a little bit of a dip. But the shaded areas, these areas, are where the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland says that's where the recessions are. So that's our 2008-2009 recession. We felt that one. .com boom. I'm sure everybody can like think back to the year and go, oh yeah, I remember what was going on then. Housing inventory. So I think this is an important thing to talk about. Everybody's like, why isn't housing getting cheaper? My buyers are like, why isn't housing getting cheaper? And the reality is this, just think about it from, you know, just logically. You own a home, you're paying 3% interest rate. You want to sell it. If you're not going to get your price, you're going to stick a renter in the house. You're not going to sell it at a wash. Our economy's doing too well. People have jobs. There's no reason for people to fire sale their homes. And so, you know, when we're sitting there going from almost 1.5, million down, I mean, we're down by almost 2/3 in America for inventory, and that's why you're not seeing prices go down. There's not enough houses. Here in Denver, we need 70,000 units just to keep up with our current population. So yeah, you're not going to see houses go on fire sale. This is just the tax rate right now. Right now we are in one of the all-time best tax rates for real gross domestic for GDP. I mean, we're down at an average about 37%, where taxes like from the 70s and 80s, I mean, we're all the way up to 70%. Those will time out in 2025, and it'll be interesting to see who's in office and what happens with our taxes. But right now, it's actually a good time to make money because the government's not going to take all of it from you. This is a projected percentage of total population in 2030. What you want to look at is 40 to 64. The higher this number, the worse off it is for that country. So right now in the United States, from 40 to 64, we're only at 29.5% of our population. China's at 37.9, Germany's at 33, Russia's at 36.8. They're all significantly older, which means they have aging populations, they're not having babies, and these are countries that you should be worried about, and I would not, while I like China for production, and I like India for production, I'm worried about long-term for those countries because they aren't having babies and their populations are their younger populations are getting smaller and their older populations are getting older, or larger. So let's talk about the United States and inflation. The consumer price index for all urban consumers rose by 0.2% in June on a seasonally adjusted basis after increasing 0.1% in May. So the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported over the last 12 months, all items indexed increased 3% before seasonal adjustment. Fed wants 2%, and last year all we've had is 3% appreciation. This is the median consumer price index. And here's where it got all crazy. And this will be called the COVID graph. This all happened because of COVID. Getting stuck inside and then everybody going and spending a bunch of money, and now it's just sharply declining. And I literally think in a lot of ways we're going to see that. I think we're going to see a fast move on rates. I think mortgage rates are going to have to come down. I think unless we want to have a hard landing, as long as the Fed pulls it together, I think mortgage rates will start coming down. And I don't think we're going to see the 3% anything, maybe high 4s. I think the sweet spot's going to be 5.5%. One thing to consider is in America, when interest rates go down by 1%, we're going to have 5 million more buyers in America. So what that means is while interest rates come down, things will get more affordable from a payment standpoint, but the competition is going to get a lot worse. So, my clients that were out there, 18 months ago when we were having to as is and, $100,000 over ask and no appraisal gap. And I mean, that will come back as interest rates come down. So you have to kind of decide, do you want to bite the bullet now, get something now, invest, and then refinance and already have the asset where it's not going to be as competitive? Or do you want to wait until you feel like your payment's more affordable, but then you're going to end up paying more for the house? Excuse me. Sorry about that. So this is a percentage change for consumer price for all urban consumers. So this is your unadjusted 12-month ending in June of 2023. And what's really come down is energy costs. So gas, oil, electricity, and gas services. And so that's what's really helping adjust the CPI. And so the Fed should be happier about that. We were having like 10% a year ago. So all of that's coming down and that is helping. So this is CPI for all. This is month over month. So in June it was 0.2%, May it was 0.1%, April it was 0.4%. And so these are low, and what they do is they go from year over year. So June of 2022 was at 1.2. Now we're at 0.2. That's a 1% difference in consumer price, which should make the Fed happy, right? You would think that the Fed would be talking about decreasing rates, not increasing. U.S. manufacturing, cap rate, were the blue line is the utilization, the manufacturing is the blue, and as you can see, manufacturing is coming down. Everybody's just basically anticipating a slowdown. Let's talk about Denver Metro. Our demographics, we're still a little bit of a, what did the Colorado Springs mayor call us, a loaf of white bread? But we're slowly getting more and more diverse, and I think that's a really healthy and good thing for our city and for the state. We want more diversity. We want more foreigners and whatnot. The bigger the melting pot, the better off our state is going to be. This is residential listing count. So if we look, this is just single family in Denver from January 2022 to June of 2022, and then this is January 2023 to June of 2023. So if you look from then, we had closed single families last year of 4,048 homes for an average price of $879,000. This year, look how much down it is. We've only had 2,994 closings, and price is $853,000. Days on market, it's taking 3 times as long this year as it did last year for homes to sell. And they're slightly down, but as you can see, the prices are not drastic at all. I mean, average price last year was $879. Average price this year was $853,000. So $879 to $853. It was one of those things, like, I would have rather bought a year ago and had a 4% interest rate than pay $20,000 less this year and pay 7.5% interest rate. If I just take Baker, so I picked historic Baker because that's where my office is, which is the center of Denver. If you look quarter over quarter. So this is just second quarter for 2022. We had 43 homes sold. In 2023, we had 30. Average price per square foot was $481 last year. This year it's $473. So we went from an average price of $629 to $624, and it's taking a little over half the time to buy. It's interesting to me that, you know, everybody thought, or I think the Fed actually thought if they increased interest rates high enough that home prices would drop. But the reality is people just aren't selling, or they won't sell unless they get their price. Unemployment rate, this is our unemployment rate went through the roof again because of COVID, but has been very low, and unemployment rate is low. I mean, you see for help signs, need help signs everywhere. Everybody needs help, and people need help in trades. You know, if you're a young person and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, unless you're exceptionally smart and are just great at math and science, or you know, whatever, I would highly suggest getting into a trade. Trades are where it's at. You know, electricians, plumbers, they are making all the money, and they're making more money than PhDs. And you know, it's kind of a dying art. And so if you're a young person watching this, really think about it. Average age of a plumber in America is 65 years old. I mean, that's not going to be good 10 years from now. So. This is new listings in Denver Metro. We hit basically a complete lull in like January of this year, and then they've been increasing, went down a little bit and have been increasing. So all Denver and Metro counties, all listings were right around 6,000. So these are median days. In January, look, it was almost up to 35. It's come down quite a bit. If it's priced correctly, homes are moving. I'm noticing it really depends on price points. My listings that are over 1.5 million are definitely taking a lot longer to sell. I think the sweet spot in Denver right now is multi-units. There's some fabulous multi-units out there that are priced incredibly well for what you get, and it's a great time to invest in multi-units as far as I'm concerned. This is median close price. We hit kind of our bottom in January of this year, and it's been increasing ever since. We're a little over 600,000 right now for median average closes. And closed listings. We had just over 2,000 in January, and it's climbed up to about 4,800. This is all 11 counties in Denver Metro. So a little over 6,000 listings, about 4,800 of them are selling. So there's still, you know, a section of homes that aren't selling, and it has to do with price, it has to do with area, it has to do with, I mean, a multitude of different factors, but the houses priced well that are cream puff properties that aren't too expensive are definitely flying off the market. Let's talk about the 2030 depression. If you've never seen this before, 2030 is kind of a rolling number. I will know 2 years before it happens. There are certain factors that I'm looking for, but we will hit a brick wall. We're just not in it. And what's going to happen this decade is inflation. We are going to see more and more inflation. We're going to see things get more and more expensive just in general on everything. And then we will end up hitting a brick wall in 2030. Prosperity in the Age of Decline is one of the best books I've read. It's by the Gloriod brothers. They wrote it in 2016, and it still holds today. Everything that's in the book is great. It talks about demographics, our healthcare, our entitlements, inflation, and then the U.S. national debt. Food shortages. If you go up to Wyoming, you will see all these farmers who are selling their land, and they're becoming developments. We are losing farmers more rapidly than ever before, and we're losing it to development. And you know, the problem is if we get rid of our farmers, we won't have enough food. And so I do think food shortages are going to be an issue 2030 to 2040. We're going to have water shortages. Does it feel like it if you've been in Denver for the last 2 months? We've had a lot of water, which has been really good. But as far as good, clean water, water is a great thing to invest in for the 2030 to 2040 decade. Food, water, gas prices will definitely be going up. A lot of people don't realize, but here in Colorado, we're going to see a large increase next year in our gas prices. And the reason why is Polis made a deal with the EPA. He was trying to do the right thing. He was trying to be environmentally conscious and good, but what he's done is he's basically requiring our gas to go through a whole other filtration system starting in 2024. And so our gas, make sure you fill up December 31st here in Colorado, because you're going to really start seeing prices increase next year. Supply and demand, there's going to be a lot less supply and a lot more demand this decade. And then there's going to be a lot less demand and too much supply next decade. And so there's just this sweet spot of what you need to do and where you need to be. But right now, if you're renting, you need to own. If you own, and you know, things to think about if you're an owner. If it's been your primary home 2 out of the last 5 years, if you are a single person and you have $250,000 worth of equity in your home, it is time to sell that and start over. It's the only tax-free money you can get. A single person's allowed to make up to $250,000. A married person's allowed to make up to $500,000 on the sale of their primary home without paying $1 in taxes. You always want to reset that basis. Staying in the same house forever is not, while it might be comfortable, it's not a great move for your retirement or your future. Talk about the fundamentals. How do I maximize the 2020s to prepare for the 2030s? You want to basically invest in more inflation hedged items, stay involved in the equities market, for sure. Live below your means, try to pay down your debt. The last thing you want when the brick wall comes is for you to have a bunch of debt. So this decade, you need to be investing and saving and paying off debt. A great way to do that is, I just helped one couple. I helped them sell their house. I got them a 60-day PCOA. They're buying a new house. They were able to wipe out all of their debt and then start over on the new house and start working on that for their future. The lesson in the Great Recession of 2008 is that while single-family homes are not immune to the effects of the Depression, they will definitely fare better than condos. One thing I'm actually worried about condos is I think there's going to come a time in our lifetime where we'll start building houses above houses. If you don't own your house and you don't own the area above, that could be something that comes down the road in the next 20 or 30 years that I don't even think people realize that that's kind of in the works and is happening. And how long do we think it's going to last? Basically, this is a moving target, but it will be a 10-year recession, and it looks like 2036 will be the bottom. When we hit the bottom, I plan on buying as much real estate as I humanly possibly can. It's a good way to go, but right now, I am currently, I have sold 2 of my rentals just to have more money liquid as I'm building another house, and I still own quite a few rentals. I'm going to start divesting out of my rentals in 2026 through 2028. And then how can people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s best be prepared for the financially, keeping in mind all the aspects of their lives, health, finances, and housing? I think the biggest concern I hear from my elder clients is the rise of healthcare. And people are worried about retirement because they don't know how much healthcare is going to cost, and our healthcare system is a mess. We have taken all the power away from doctors. We've given it all to insurance companies, and people's health is literally not being taken care of. So what do you need to do if you're in your 50s, 60s, and 70s? You need to be debt-free, and you need to have cash. So on the onset of 2030, that you'll be in a good position to make the moves you need to make without feeling the pressure of what you're going to owe. Thanks for coming. If you want more information, go on the QR code. A couple of things. I am starting a Creating Wealth workshop the last Thursday of the month. So our first one will be this Thursday, or this Thursday this month, the last Thursday of this month. It'll be here at the office. It doesn't matter if you're young or old. We're going to talk about budgeting, how to save money, where to invest, and what's coming. It'll be a monthly class that we'll do, and I'll have pizza and beer here, and we can hang out and talk money and the economy. My favorite thing to talk about, the economy. And yeah, I plan on doing another one of these end of the year. I think we're going to need one. There's going to be a lot of changes with AI and things that are going to happen with the federal government, and so we can talk more about